Fun in the sun in Blackpool, but not everything is as rosy as it seems. Away from the fairground rides and the beach, the ballroom dancing, kiss me quick hats and sticks of rock, this coastal town in northern England is home to an unwanted reputation. You're far more likely to die younger and have a worse quality of health here than anywhere else in England, with life expectancy rates the lowest of anywhere in the country.
It's dire here in Blackpool, it really is.
They don't look after the people, they look after the tourists.
Blackpool is a town that exports young, healthy people, but then imports older people and those that have issues.
Mental health, I mean, it's terrible in Blackpool, the mental health.
I should be dead by now, really.
This is real Britannia.
So bullseye, line 50, blue 5 and 6, 56.
Welcome to Blackpool, home of the world-famous pleasure beach and the country's tallest roller coaster, the Big One. Ever since the Victorian times, when this park was first established, life expectancy rates in the UK have been moving steadily upwards. But over the past 30 years, the same can't be said for Blackpool, where lifespans have dropped well below the national average.
As of 2020, men in England can expect to live until they are 79, while for women it's 83. The average for both sexes is 81. There's a big dip in Blackpool though, where living here can knock nearly 5 years off your life. Just over 74 years for men and 79 for women, an average of 76.5 years. And when we take healthy life expectancy into account, that's the number of years people are expected to live in good health, it paints an even darker picture. The town's healthy life expectancy is just 54.5 years, far below the UK average of 63.2. So how did we get here? Well, the answer isn't that simple, and Arif Rajpura, the town's Director of Public Health, says there's a whole host of factors driving historical health inequality.
Well, the gap has got wider between ourselves and the rest of the country, and now that's our challenge. It's everyone's responsibility. So we as a council, as an NHS system here, need all to get serious and contribute to this. So it's not just my responsibility, but it's the council's responsibility. I'd also like some of the things that government needs to do to improve the health and well-being of the population. You know, the stuff around price of alcohol, for instance, the minimum unit price, obesity, and the stuff around junk food advertising to our kids. The buy one get one free promotions. All of those things drive problems, drive that obesogenic environment.
And along with all these issues, Blackpool faces an opiate crisis, with the town home to the highest rate of deaths from drug misuse in the country.
We do have issues with opiate use in the town, and what that does is we lose a lot of young people. And when you lose young people to opiate overdoses, heroin overdoses, then what that does is it has a disproportionate impact on your overall life expectancy.
But just how worried are you?
So I am worried at this moment. Absolutely I'm worried, because I don't think that the system is fit for purpose at this moment in time. Hence my point earlier, we need to have a plan for how we solve the current crisis. And it is a crisis because if we don't, the system's already tipping over.
It's a far cry from the British seaside paradise Blackpool was aiming to become. For over 200 years, tourists and holidaymakers flocked here for a slice of sand and sunshine for a price that wouldn't break the bank. It was even a trailblazer in UK engineering. Blackpool Tower was once the country's tallest building. Its world-famous illuminations were some of the earliest electric lights in the world, and its 3 piers had amusement facilities to rival any resort. But in the latter half of the 20th century, things changed, and it's a story heard at other resorts up and down the country. With cheap holidays abroad becoming more accessible, Blackpool's unique charm just wasn't as special. Fast forward to today, and deprivation dominates in Blackpool. 8 out of the 10 poorest neighbourhoods in the country are right here, in what was once Britain's holiday haven. Homelessness rates are in the top 10 in England, and food bank usage has risen by over 50% in the last 5 years. Despite the gloomy outlook, Blackpool's sense of community is strong.
Please, yeah.
Here at the First Step Centre in Claremont, support is available for those living in England's third most deprived postcodes. Anyone can turn up and get free food here, from the homeless to those with health problems, or even people with jobs struggling to make ends meet.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's to help people out. It's to help people who are in dire straits. When they do that cost of living payment now, it's hard for people to survive.
How did things get so bad that you had to start using services? What's happened?
Cost of living payments. I've been having health problems. Like I say, a few years ago, I had a stroke. Then I had a chest infection and lung infection, and because it would just be health problems.
So I literally live across the road, and the service I've had from these guys has been amazing. They're always helping me with food and bread and things like that just to get by. And if it wasn't for these people and these services, I'd probably be hungry for quite a lot of days out of the week.
Joanne Shepherd, who's led the centre for nearly 20 years, told us the cost of living crisis has hit her town and her charity hard. She says she's never seen more people in need than right now.
The numbers have more or less doubled. People that are homeless, people that are vulnerable, but also people that are working. They're still under threat of having no money for food or heating. It's dire here in Blackpool, it really is. The cost of living crisis has caused so many problems. We're in the top 3% of deprivation across the board of all domains anyway. So having the cost of living crisis on and above that makes it a massive strain on everybody that's living in this area.
The current economic climate has also created a perfect storm. Demand for food banks is soaring not just here, but right across the country too, meaning donations from the big retailers are stretched more thinly.
The people that are in need is getting higher and stronger, but the actual produce is getting less because the amount of places that it's actually going on offer is grown. So therefore the amount of food that's going to each different organisation obviously has lessened, which is a massive problem.
And it's not just those using the service who are struggling. Morag is one of the volunteers here, but she knows all too well about the town's health problems. Her husband has severe health issues, but getting in front of a doctor isn't easy.
Well, he was due to have a gastroscopy, which is a camera down the throat, for a checkup in February. He was hospitalised because he's got chronic Crohn's and he had a bleed. So he was hospitalised for that. Now, he was in the hospital while he was supposed to get the gastroscopy. 10 minutes before his appointment, it was cancelled. So they didn't take him down for it. So then we've been waiting since April. But in this time, this keeps happening and he keeps having problems with it. And it's just not fair. It's not fair. He's waiting and waiting and waiting.
What's your message to the government, to the people in charge of the NHS? If they were listening to you right now, what would you say to them?
Sort it out. Get the appointments that people need when they need the appointments, not months or years down the line. It's ridiculous. People are suffering and they need to be seen straight away, but they need to sort out the system.
It's not just one system which needs sorting though. Blackpool's problems are multi-layered, and just as important as physical health is mental health, which is also in a crisis.
Mental health, I mean, it's terrible in Blackpool, the mental health. The time you've got to wait, people that need counselling or need to seek mental health help, they've got to wait a long, long time, and it's not fair.
GP-diagnosed depression here is the highest in the country, and the suicide rate per 100,000 people is close to double the national average. Stuart Hutton Brown's charity Counselling in the Community offers sessions for free or for a small donation for anyone needing to talk. He set up the service 6 years ago and at one point sold almost all of his belongings to keep it running.
I just felt it was the right thing to do, if I'm being honest. It's people are coming here and they're in desperate need of help, and they need it now. At the time, I believed in it. I really did believe in it, and it just felt that a car's a car. You can buy a car, but to have a service that's reaching out and helping so many people, you can't put a price on that.
Danny uses the charity to help with his anxiety after moving to Blackpool from Essex. The road to consistent care has been long though, with the NHS limiting how many mental health sessions it offers patients.
Counselling in the community is, absolutely brilliant. I mean, I found them through Facebook. Back then, that was probably about 2.5 years ago. They only had one base, and it was like a 5-minute walk from where I was living. And from when I first made the phone call, I had got my first counselling session within 2 weeks. If there's anything I'm worrying about, I can just open up. It's a real, it's just amazing. It's just amazing.
Struggling mental health, deprivation, drug abuse and poor diet are all symptoms of the situation Blackpool finds itself in. Despite record numbers of visitors post-pandemic and signs of recovery, the feeling here is that it needs to become a 12-month-a-year town, not just a pit stop for the summer holidays. But getting to that point isn't as easy as it sounds.
There's a lack of industry, the seaside kind of industry is term work, it's insecure work, it's low pay work. We don't have that industry in Blackpool that we once did, and that's what we need again.
Chris Webb hopes to be the man tasked with building up his hometown. He's running as the Labour candidate to be Blackpool South's next MP and wants the government to put areas like his first.
The town's lost £1.6 billion since 2010-11. That's a huge impact on the infrastructure, on the outcomes of local people. When they don't have that infrastructure, it impacts them, and that's why we're on the top of the league tables for all the wrong reasons. So for me, we need investment in the town, and we need it now.
One of the things we've been hearing is that Blackpool's economy needs to diversify so that it works all year round instead of just being in the peak summer months. That would make it more attractive to students, young people, as well as doctors, so that they'd come and live and work and study here. But look at this, it's a beautiful summer's day. The sun is shining, and yet this iconic beach is almost completely deserted. That's because over the past week, there's been 3 separate sewage spillages, meaning that the water is full of E. coli, and this stretch of coastline has had to be shut down, spanning 14 miles.
Blackpool's a town which is hard to describe. There's a real warmth from the locals, despite the struggles that they face.
Bingo!
It's a town that, in some ways, is stuck in the past, while desperately trying to define a better future. Everyone knows things need to change, but some question whether it's even possible. Ultimately, it's the people who make Blackpool, and if their health isn't protected, then it's Blackpool that pays the price. And without them, what's left?
Blackpool isn't Blackpool without local people, and I'm proud to be born and bred here, as so many others, but we just need a little bit more help.
It needs totally redeveloping, because you go down streets years ago used to be so busy, and now they're all shops, they're all shut up, they look outdated, they're all boarded up. Even a lot of the hotels on the promenade are boarded up. It's just not good enough for Blackpool, is it? They're building all these hotels and redeveloping car parks, things that you don't need.
I'm hopeful that things are going to start coming down. Inflation's going to stay where it is. We're going to be able to rise with our produce as the time goes on, as the produce is coming more into the country. But when that's going to be, I just don't know.
We need to narrow that gap, and we've got significant plans to do that. I'm optimistic. I think we'll get there.
They don't look after the people, they look after the tourist. That's the difference. They're not bothered about us. That's the way it is.